Hello guys and gals, it's Soulfax here and you're watching another War Thunder video, and this time I'm bringing you some Russian tanks. Yes, I know, it's kind of a surprise to me. I've been receiving quite a few replays in the past few weeks, but I just couldn't make myself make a few videos out of those replays because the replays were either extremely boring, it is a good result, 7 to 8 kills in a ground forces match, but still the replays that were sent to me were quite boring. But this one is different. This one is a very interesting replay in my opinion. But anyhow, this is a realistic battle match on the Advanced to Rhine map, and the person who sent me this replay, whom I thank very much for taking the time to send me this replay, is called Kazumi. Yes, it sounds very Japanese. I don't think he is Japanese because his name doesn't sound Japanese. Well, you get my drift. It sounds Japanese, but it's most likely not Japanese. But anyhow, he's using his T28 E, and like I said, this is the Advanced to Rhine map, realistic battles. And me personally, I've never actually played in the T28E. T28E, yes, I've never actually even unlocked this tank. I unlocked the T28. I played a few games in it just a few days ago when I was trying to grind through the third or maybe even fourth event of the World War II Chronicles, because, well, you know, they introduced that new thing in the Realistic Battles event where only 2 to 3 T-34s can be active at one time in one match. So basically, if you don't log in quickly enough, not log in, excuse me, if you don't join the battle quickly enough, you're not going to be able to play in your most favorite T-34. So I got stuck with the T-28. And let me tell you, it's not a bad tank. It's decently maneuverable. It doesn't have a lot of armor, but when you don't have the APHE round unlocked that Mr. Kazumi here has, you're not gonna have a lot of fun unless you get things on their side, which is, I mean, it's a relatively easy thing to do because, like I said, this thing is not all that slow. But yeah, I'm rambling again. So in this match, the matchups are as following: it's Germany and Russia versus the the Americans and the Brits. So it's basically German Stellinium versus the Freedom T. Oh, such bad jokes. But anyhow, I apologize for that. If you look at the minimap while Mr. Kazumi is making his way through the main street and going to assault the A point, you will see a few things. So firstly, the way that the spawn points are located on this map in comparison and according in parallel to the A point, that's a lot of words that just make no sense. You will see, and you will probably recognize that the southern spawn point is a much better one, mainly because of the fact that the southern spawn point, the players that spawn at that spawn point spawn directly on the road which leads directly to the A point, but they also get a few roads that give them very good access to flanking routes. If you again look at the minimap, you will see that the Russian/German side or the German Stellinium side has managed to wrap around the A point, which basically means that all of the players from the Freedom T side that decided the best course of action would be to actually storm the A point and try to capture it early in the game will get surrounded and squashed like bugs, and that is exactly what happens here. With only a few losses to the German Stellinium side, excuse me, the German Stellinium side managed to clear the A point, and now Mr. Kazumi is making his way to the A point in an attempt to capture it, but as you will see, he's not going to do something very stupid here. Mr. Kazumi is not going to do the stupid thing and just rush the cap point. He goes around the corner to see if there's anybody flanking him, and oh, there's an M3A1, tries to clutch the shot, but the M3A1 manages to clutch the shot into him, and somehow, with just a 37mm cannon, manages to take out 2 of his crew members. That's just not a very good start to a match, but well, this is the T28 and it's got 6 crew members. The M3A1 tries to just do something very suicidal. He tries to, well, it basically did the right thing. He tried to flank them and get around them, but the thing is, he just ran into around, that was like 4 or 5 tanks behind him, so either way, he's probably not gonna get out of that alive, and he didn't, and that is how Mr. Kazumi gets his first kill. Now, the German Stellinium side managed to capture the A point, and now, because of the initial wave of the Brits/Americans, the Freedom T side has been annihilated. Now all the players that managed to get some spawn points in the previous wave will get their second tanks. And now this is the opposite situation. Now the Freedom T side will be able to flank around the whole map and try to take out the people who are on A side. You will see it's kind of very interesting because this match in particular, has different phases to it. First phase was the Freedom T side managed to get to the A point and capture it and then camp on it, and then the second phase was that the German Stellinium side managed to get to the cap point, retake it, and now the third stage is the complete reverse. Now the German Stellinium side is defending the cap point while the Freedom T side is trying to wrap around them through all the sides of the map. I don't usually talk about player skill in my videos because, well, player skill in War Thunder is something very specific, because War Thunder is not a game about reflexes and about twitch shooting. It's a game about positioning and knowledge. So basically, a confrontation, a fight between two tanks is most of the time decided way before those two tanks actually make contact with each other. War Thunder is a game of knowledge and a game of positioning, and if you know a lot about your tank and if you exploit the weaknesses of the enemy's tanks while working with the advantages that your tank has, you're going to come out as the victor. Now, Mr. Kazumi here is doing the right thing. He's still camping in the cap circle because, well, the enemy team decided to rush the cap circle down the only single road that leads from their spawn point to the A circle, A cap point, yeah. Now he spotted a Matilla. That's gonna be a big of a problem if he doesn't get the side of his turret or something along those lines, and he gets, of course he gets the side of the turret. Now this cannon on this thing is so monstrous. You're gonna see in this video, he already got 3 one-shot kills with this cannon. Now that's not something very particularly weird because this is a Russian tank, and Russian tanks are very well known for having very destructive ammo. But the thing is, this is a 75mm howitzer cannon, and some of the tanks that he shoots at do have 5 crew members. Now, this is something that has been particularly clear to me in one of the World War II series events, where there were very early war tanks fighting against very early war tanks, and you had Panzer IV F1s that we see here on the left side of the screen, fighting against BT7s and T28s like this one, and Z30s. Now, in that event, the Z30 with his 57mm cannon was the most powerful tank in the match, which is very weird because on the other side we had Panzer IV F1s with the 75mm howitzer gun, which is also a very good gun if you use heat. But the 57mm cannon on the Z30 just one-shotted everything across the whole map. It was so hard to play, and at the time it didn't make sense to me, and now that I look back on it, it still doesn't make sense to me because, well, the 57mm cannon has less explosive filler than the 75mm cannon, I think. I'm quite sure of that, and especially if you use the heat ammo on the 75mm short cannon. Just, yeah, but anyhow, Mr. Kazumi has made his way outside of the cap, and now because the first initial wave of reinforcements has been crushed by the German Stalinian side, he can actually make his way toward the enemy spawn, and in my opinion this is a valid tactic. You want to stop the enemies from coming to the A point, and one of the ways of doing that is going to them and taking the fight to them, and basically stopping them from reaching your cap point. And what is that? An M13, and it goes off before Mr. Kazumi manages to do anything. So he's still on 4 kills, but there's a lot of tanks here, so he's gonna have something to shoot at least. And one of the things that is very interesting about this map is that because this map has a lot of destructible buildings on offer, it means that some of the buildings can actually be shot through. That is still one of the stupidest things that I've ever seen in this game, because, well, just think about this way. So, high explosive does trigger on this building, but for some reason, armor piercing, and armor piercing high explosive, and armor piercing discarded sabot shells, and any other shell that does not explode upon contact, that have some sort of filler in it, not filler, excuse me, some sort of sensitivity fuse, will not explode upon contact on these buildings, which means that you can basically shoot through some of the buildings on this map. And to me, that is just such stupid and lame and lazy game design. I don't know why they didn't change that in the past when they introduced the destructible terrain. It's something very interesting. But yeah, while I was blabbering on about this and that, Mr. Kazumi has made his way almost all the way to the enemy cap point, oh my god, enemy spawn point, and in that time he's got himself 2 more kills, which makes him a 5-kill monster, which is an ace game already, and this is a very good game for him, as you can see, but it's not over just yet. But anyhow, now while they managed to crush the first and the second wave of reinforcements coming from the enemy spawn point after they capture the A point, there's always a possibility that not all of the enemy team has decided to just rush down the only road that leads directly to the A cap point, but decided to do something useful with their tanks and actually actually flank around the map and try to attack the enemy from behind. Now, while he gets his 6th kill and very soon his 7th kill on this M3 Lee, you're going to see something happen on the minimap. So firstly, there's absolutely nobody defending the A cap point, and there's somebody trying to spawn camp the German Stalinian spawn point, and now the A point is being captured by the enemy, which means that somebody did actually decide to wrap around the whole map and capture the A point. They did something useful with their tanks, yay! But all jokes aside, this is not actually such a big deal because of a few factors. So firstly, because for most of this match, the German Stellinium side has been holding the A cap point, means that they didn't lose a lot of tickets, and that the enemy team did lose a lot of tickets, and that the only tickets that the German Stellinium side has lost have been through their tanks getting destroyed by the enemy team. Secondly, because this is not such a big map, and because it's very flat and the terrain is very hard, means that he can use the limited mobility of this tank to its fullest, and he doesn't have a very long trek to make back to the A cap point. Thirdly, because of the fact that they've been winning for most of this match, means that there can't be all that many tanks left alive on the enemy team. As you can see, he's already gotten himself 7 kills, which means that basically he killed at least one tank of half of the team by himself with this one tank. That is one of the only advantages of these small maps in ground forces realistic battles, is that when you do get taken from behind, humor, when you do get taken from... Anyhow, when the enemy does manage to capture the spawn point and you're on the other side of the map, it doesn't take all that long to actually get back to that spawn point. Again, I keep saying spawn point, and what I mean cap point. Cap point. When the enemy captures the cap point, if the map is not too big, you're gonna have an easier time getting back to the cap point. That is just pure logic. And on a map like that new map, the new winter map, Volovomskok something, Volovosa something, it's the worst thing ever, because firstly, it takes you around 5 to 10 minutes depending on the tank you're using to get to the first cap point that is the closest to your spawn point. And then, if you're actually somewhere other than close to the cap points, when the enemy manages to capture the cap point, you're gonna have to turn around and go back the way you came, and it's gonna take you 10 plus minutes. Traumas. I have physical, mental traumas from playing the World War II series events on that map. That is the worst map ever. Please, guys, should never make that map ever in the rotation. That is such a bad freaking map. But anyhow, Mr. Kazumi has made his way to the enemy, currently the enemy cap point, with this 30 that I talked about earlier here. However, he's gonna do some butt kicking here because, well, I can't say that they managed to flank the enemy cap point, because they just turned around and went back the way they came, and what they stumbled upon is a few tanks that are not looking towards their general direction, which means they're gonna have a very easy time actually taking them out and recapturing the A cap point. So for the second time in this match, the German Selenium side is mopping up all the Freedom T players that are around and on the A cap point. They're going to start to recapture the A cap point. So basically, again, we're going to be in the situation where the German Selenium side is trying to defend the A cap point, while the Russian T side, nope, the Freedom T side is doing something to try to attack it. But something interesting, something amazing is going to happen. Yes, you've guessed it, Mr. Kazumi managed to actually get himself flanked, and that is not something detriment to him because he couldn't do anything about it, but that is a congratulations for this Crusader Mark II, who actually did something useful and flanked around the A cap point. Now, the Crusader Mark II is a very interesting vehicle because on one side is a very good vehicle for this battle rating, it's very mobile and it's got a very weird armor layout that can bounce some very large caliber shots. But on the second hand, it's got a very bad cannon. As you can see, it really takes a lot of shots to kill an enemy tank if you're not at close range. And thirdly, it's got only 3 crew members, which means that if you do get penetrated frontally, you're lucky if you don't get killed outright. And if you don't get killed outright, most of the time you're gonna be left with only 1 freaking crew member. And playing a tank that relies so much on mobility as that tank, with only 1 crew member, is extremely difficult. But anyhow, Mr. Kazumi spawned in another T28E, which is probably a backup vehicle, and is making his way over to the A cap point again. But the thing is, if you look at the minimap, a lot of tanks on the friendly side are dying. The A cap point is being contested once again. Now they're managing to capture it because I assume that Crusader got killed by that ZIS-30. But as you can see, the match is not yet over. So we're skipping forward just a little bit and letting Mr. Kazumi show us the importance of early flanking maneuvers. So when he spawned, he noticed that most of his friendly tanks that are around the A point are dying, which means that there are enemy tanks around there. So he decided to flank around just in case the enemy manages to capture the A point, and he gets rewarded by a lot of surprise butt sacks. I just stole that joke for Mr. Jingles, and I apologize for that, but it's very funny. So anyhow, he gets to the A cap point. There's currently 4 tanks that are sideways to him, with 1 M3A1 that is actually shooting at him. So he first decides to take the M3A1 and the Stewart, and now he's got a lot to choose from. So another M3A1 is going back, but he notices there is a Cromwell here, and the Cromwell is the most dangerous tank around them. But oh, there is another AA. He turns around. This AA is very dangerous if he gets a shot off, but he doesn't. Now gets his second kill in this cap point. That another another Steward that was there got taken out by his friendly forces, and this Cromwell just burns down. And just like that, with one simple flanking maneuver, the whole A cap point that was teeming with 4 enemy tanks gets cleared up, and now they can basically advance to the A cap point and recapture it once again. And really congratulations to Mr. Kazumi, because that was some nice display of positioning rather than just trying to go for pure player skill and twitch shooting. So for the third time in this match, Mr. Kazumi has cleared the A cap point and is going to capture it. And oh, another Crusader with his back turned, and the magical 76mm shell of this cannon takes him out in one go. Well, it's not very hard to actually kill a Crusader, but something again interesting happens. He's getting shot from somewhere he doesn't know, and where is he getting shot from exactly? I mean, we see because there's the M5A1 there, but he doesn't see. He now notices him, and that M5A1, that Steward had a chance to take him out, but he just decided to shoot at the same place over and over again. And with the last man standing feature being a thing now, you just can't do that anymore. You just can't shoot at the same place over and over again and hope that the enemy will just die. But this is basically the end of this match. He's so far gotten 11 kills and captured the point 3 times, I think. Is it 3 times? Let me just check very quickly here. No, only 1 time, because 2 times now. Okay. He's captured the point 2 times, gotten 11 kills, and the match is going to be over very quickly. He's going to stop at these 11 amazing kills that he's gotten so far, because his friendly team, his allies, are actually going to help him out a little bit. But anyhow, this has been Mr. Kazumi in his T28E on the Advanced to Rhine map, showing us how to actually play this tank in a city environment. And so, for the second time in this match, he gets very unlucky and penetrates a tank frontally, actually from the side, and doesn't get a one-shot kill on him. And now he actually clutches a shot and misses. But yeah, Mr. Kazumi, my name has been Soulfax. Thank you for sending me this replay. I really enjoyed recording it and really enjoyed watching it. And if you have any replays other than this, send them over to soulfax444@gmail, and I will be very glad to take a look at them. But anyhow, again, my name has been Soulfax. Hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, I don't know, do something about it, and leave me a comment saying how much you enjoyed the video, and I will see you next time.